My name is Michael Santos, and in this video I want to respond to a couple of comments I received from individuals at the Centinela State Prison. It's part of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, and I like to work with people in prison because I absolutely want to inspire and teach more people the strategies that worked for me while I was going through 26 years in prison and why those strategies put me on a pathway to success. But recently I had the privilege of meeting Mr. Nichols and Mr. Calvin Noel, both of whom are, as you know, leaders at the California Department of Corrections, teaching and inspiring people inside, helping them get ready for the challenges that face anybody who gets out of prison. And certainly I'm an individual who knows an awful lot about facing those challenges. More importantly, I'm an individual who knows something about overcoming those challenges. The truth that I experience is that the sooner an individual starts preparing for success when they get out, the better the chance that individual has of really building a new life. You are all smart guys. I know that you've read the newspapers and you've interacted with a lot of people in the prison system, and you know the odds of succeeding out here after a long term in prison are really difficult. The statistics show that depends on how you measure recidivism, but I think it's safe to say that out of every 10 people that you know who are in prison, 6 of them are going to go back into the prison system after they are released. And that fact makes me really sad. I mean, I was in prison for 26 years. So although I have been free now for 5 years, I can say that I still feel a big part of me I left behind. I received some questions from individuals who are currently serving time at the Centinela State Prison. One of those people is Maldonado, and I know that Creech is very active in teaching people, and I want to thank both of you guys for even showing an interest in anything that I am doing. I know that a lot of people who are in prison really are not interested in learning about anything to do outside, because many people in prison live with this mindset that indicates that the best way to serve time is just to be in prison and to forget about the world outside. But what really made the difference for me is that I was always thinking every day that I was in prison, what can I do to position myself for success? And I went into the prison system in 1987 when I was in my early 20s. I didn't get out of prison until 26 years later in 2013. So I've just passed the 5-year mark since I walked out of prison. But through that entire journey, I was always working to position myself for success. And I got a question that Mr. Noel passed along to me, where he asked, one of the people, I think it was Mr. Maldonado, asked, what motivated me to even want to do this, to even want to be involved with people in prison? Well, I can tell you that I got out of prison and I set 2 goals with my wife. I got married while I was in prison during my final 10 years, and as she was driving me from the prison to the halfway house, I was telling her I have 2 goals. And one of those goals is I want to improve the outcomes of the criminal justice system. I want to make sure that I'm doing my part to inspire and teach people in prison so that more people who are serving time can come back successfully. That was one goal. A second goal on this front was to create programs and services that would teach people the strategies that I learned while I was in prison. And the third was to spread more awareness on what we as a society could do with regard to reforms so that more people learned strategies while they were in prison that would transition into success. Unfortunately, people get out of prison and they face a lot of resistance from the job market and from society as a whole. So I experienced that personally. I knew that I was going to experience that, and I believed that I could try to make a difference, but that to make that difference really had to start when people were inside, to get people to think differently. The second goal that I told my wife I wanted to do, besides creating programs and services that would help people in prison, was to build financial prosperity. And because I believed that if I was not successful financially, people wouldn't really listen to what I had to say. What motivated me to want to do all of that is just the fact that I was locked up for 9,500 days. And you can't do 26 years in prison without that becoming really a part of your DNA. And so although I'm very grateful to be out here in society and building my business, whenever I have an opportunity, I definitely want to try to share the message of what worked for me while I was inside. And I received another question that was, well, when was it that I started to get motivated to want to change my life. The truth, I got motivated and inspired to want to change my life at the very start of my prison sentence back in 1987. I made bad decisions when I was 20 years old, really when I was a teenager, got busted when I was started breaking the law when I was about 20, got busted when I was 23. But while I was going through that jail sentence, before I was sentenced, but while I was going through trial, I just had this vision that said, I'm going to try and make things right. I'm going to try and make some meaning out of these multiple decades that I'm going to serve in prison. And so I studied and learned as much as I could. If you've gone through my course, you know that I was inspired by leaders like Nelson Mandela or Viktor Frankl or Malcolm X and all these guys who did a lot of time in prison, but when they got out, they really wanted to do something good for society. And I wanted to do something good for society, and I still do. And one of the ways that I can do that, I hope, is to connect and to communicate with guys inside and share the strategies that worked for me. And you can, of course, get those strategies if you go through the course that is available to everybody in state prison. But if you can't, you could always, if you have access to my books, you can read any of the books that I wrote. There are Earning Freedom or Success After Prison or Straight A Guide. And you'll see how hard I work to try and communicate this message. Well, that message is something that is really a part of my life. My main business really is in developing real estate and investing in real estate and working with other investors. That's my primary business. This is not something that I can do to build a real business around to support me and prepare for my retirement, but because I do a lot of video work, I always try every couple of days to build a video that talks a little bit about the prison system. And I hope that people, when they see me doing this type of work or they see the business that I'm building out here, they start to believe in themselves and believe that they can do something as well. Success doesn't come by accident. It requires you to invest in yourself by doing the same types of things that I did, and that's learning how to communicate, learning how to write better, learning how to speak better, learning how to interact with other people better. And all of those skills are really what will put you on a pathway to get into the job market and advance in the job market. And that's one of the lessons that I wanted to reveal in this DVD. And I just want to thank Creech and Mr. Maldonado for asking those questions. And if any of you have questions, I do hope that you'll write them out, give them to your teacher. If it's whoever your teacher is, give it to your teacher, have it sent to me, and I will do my best to respond on video. My name is Michael Sanchez. I never ask anybody to do anything that I am not doing, and I am asking you to use your time in there to prepare for a life of meaning and relevance and dignity so that when you come home, you can build a life that is fulfilling. So I hope that's helpful to you. And I just really want to do my part to try and inspire and teach more guys. And I hope you found some of that information in the content that I produce. Thank you.